Good evening, everyone. This is the August 25th, 2025 meeting of the Comprehensive Financial Advisory Committee in the town of Barnstable. My name's Chris Lozon. I'm the chair of the committee. We'll note that in accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, any member of the public is welcome to record this meeting as long as they make themselves known. Is there anyone who would like to record the meeting? Seeing none, I don't think we have any members of the public here even, so we'll go on to the roll call. Jeremy.
Hector Gunther.
Here.
Tom Keene.
Here.
Chris King.
Yes, here.
Chris Lozon.
Here.
Jim Sproul.
Here.
Frank Ward.
Here.
Lillian Wu.
Here.
And I, Jeremy Shea, am here.
Excellent. The gang is all here. We welcome Frank to his first official meeting as a member.
Thank you.
Like I said, I don't think there's any members of the public, but we'll open it up to public comment. Hearing none, we'll move on from that. Approval of the minutes from our last meeting of August 11th.
We approve them.
Second.
I just
Okay,
have one correction. I think that on our sidebar, Teresa, it has see if I can find it here. On page 1, it says clerk Chris Jeremy Shea, so it's just a double. You might want to take that out of under our members on the sidebar.
I did catch that. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I've got a change also on page 3 under discussion, line 1. It says the 2021 report had a proposed standalone fee of, and it should be $1,600 instead of $6,800.
Thank you. I have that.
Okay. Other than that, it looks really good, as always.
Yes, thank you.
Excellent. So it's been moved and seconded. Can we have a roll call vote?
Certainly. Hector Gunther.
Yes.
Tom Keene.
Yes.
Chris King.
Yes.
Chris Lozon.
Yes.
Jim Sproul.
Yes.
Frank Ward.
Guess I should abstain since I didn't attend the meeting.
Lillian Wu.
Yep.
And I am a yes.
Excellent. Moving right along. Before we go to the next thing, I just wanted to thank you all too for that work on the Wilkins 2 report. I think we did actually make a difference. I attended the ZBA meeting where they did approve the special permit, but the developer did step up with some additional revenue for the town. And I think that was related to our report, at least in small part. So I appreciate everyone's work on that. It did make a difference.
How did they
Can I
arrive at the
chime in?
number?
What's that?
How did they arrive at the number that they put forward
For the sewer.
for their contribution, quote unquote?
Yeah, I believe they based it on number of gallons and it's kind of a random number, but they did have some kind of justification for it. But they weren't obligated to pay anything. So the fact that they stepped up, they did listen to the public input at least. I don't know if Betty wants to comment on that all.
Yeah,
at
no,
all.
I was going to chime in because Chris, I saw you there for the whole meeting. It was a very long one.
It
And
was.
Thank you for being there. And the CFAC was mentioned a number of times, very complimentary. Your report was outstanding. I talked about it in my comments from a different perspective. It was so thorough. It really is something as a standard now. And you know that Mark Hansen had some reservations, about approving it. And he actually had asked at the end that CFAC look at the number, the exact thing that Hector just questioned, but I think in large measure, you are responsible for the town getting much more than we would have from the contractors. Thank you so much. It was a beautiful, beautiful report. Thank you.
We appreciate that, Counselor. So I wanted to make sure everyone knew that, I think it did have a definite impact on that project. Whether you agree with it moving forward or not, it did have an impact. So, thank you guys for your work.
I'd also like to thank Betty for her comments at the town council meeting. Those were also very, as she just pointed out, they're very well said and much appreciated. So thank you.
So, on to the business at hand, our annual report in review of the fiscal year. I guess we'll just go through based on last year's. Are there any changes anyone wants to make as far as sections that are highlighted? I think we had a pretty tight document last year.
So, Chris, can I just ask a question first? I wasn't here last year, wasn't a part of producing the report. Can you give a little overview for me of and anyone else that would need it? How is the report generated, and what are the expectations in generating the report this year?
Yeah, so it's a good question. I mean, it's not a report that we're required to do, but we do it kind of as a summary of our previous reports for the operating budget and the capital improvement plan and all of that. It's kind of just a summary of all those things, the general fund, the school system, the fire districts, just to make it a little more accessible to the public, I think. Easier to digest in some ways, certainly than the budget document, but even our earlier reports in the year, it's a little bit more concentrated than those too. So it's really just about making it more accessible and more easy to digest for the average reader, so they can really get into the town's finances if they want to. And I know it's been done for a number of years. I don't know, Lillian might know when it was started exactly, but
It was started about 16 years ago.
yeah.
We've and I hate to say, I've got the long history on this one. But they've always been very, very well received by the public because it is such a succinct and clear summary of all of our revenue and how we spend it. I think that the addition, we've had a couple of new additions, since CWMP, of course, is a major part. And then looking ahead has been very, very helpful to the public.
Yeah, I think the additions that have been made in the past few years really have been beneficial. That looking
Yeah.
ahead section I think is great, on the back page. And I think it's pretty much good the way it's structured, unless anyone thinks we should change anything.
I just,
We've
Go
re
ahead.
we have refined it over the years so that the last 4 or 5 years, we've really hit just the high points without getting into the weeds. And so as you look through it, um, it's you get the point almost immediately. The headings are just fabulous because it says, we have a general fund, we get so much in revenue, we spend so much. The enterprise funds are so many millions of dollars, public education, CIP, etc. And so this is as clear as we've had in a number of years, and it's the format is we've worked on it, but always ready to have improvement.
So my thought, Lillian, is and I think my recollection is that because we typically had this printed, we tried to make it as few pages as possible. And
Right.
as I look at it, it feels very compressed, just hard to read, if you will, for an average person looking at it. There's not enough white space. And given that we're now more going in the direction of having digital documents, I just wonder if we could open it up a bit, make the graphs a little bit bigger. I will also say that that chart, the flow chart on the first page, if you want to go back to that, that next page, No, page after that, sorry.
This
Page-
page,
page
yeah.
three.
I do not understand this chart here. It always
Yeah.
drives me nuts.
We had a huge discussion about that last year.
Yeah, I know.
And
I
it
know.
was the brainchild of a former member. So I think it is confusing. And any
Yeah.
way that we can make it simpler will be a great improvement.
Yeah, I mean, I
You-
like that chart actually, but I'm certainly open to getting rid of it.
Oh,
We can
absolutely.
change the layout on the pages, certainly. I just, more, do you guys think there's any other departments we need to highlight or, anything like that, or the
No, I think
information
that the
that's in
substance
there?
is, I
Yeah.
think the substance is great.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, we can adjust the charts and things like that, certainly.
So
I
if,
think it is important, I think, to keep the page count, more or less where it is because it will be printed.
Hmm.
But we certainly can change the way it's set up a little bit.
well,
So
it doesn't, to Tom's point, it doesn't have to be printed, right? I mean,
Well, it
there's,
doesn't have to be, but I'll tell you, I have seen people reading it. When I was at town hall for a meeting, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but I saw someone reading it, sitting there reading the report. So, um, I think it is beneficial to print it because there are a lot of people who will pick it up when they're out at the post office or library or town hall. So it should be a digital and printed format, I believe.
Yeah, this is a very popular publication. Um,
well, we don't know that for sure, right? Well, we know we have 300 that we drop off at libraries. We
well,
have no measurement of what it comes off the internet, what's pulled down. So it's
Well,
hard to say that it's popular. It's well done and necessary, but what Tom's question was last week was, how do we don't have any data to support
I
those
thought
people.
that the data was for the online, wasn't it?
Yeah. We don't have any online data, you're
We
right.
don't have any online data.
Right. And all we do is drop off 300 copies at our libraries, right? So I guess what my thought is when I heard Tom going about wanting to do more, we could do that in a digital format and not make it a budget buster or print less copies and let people know where else to get it.
How much has it been to print it? 300 copies.
I don't know. We used to print an initial 300, and then those were all gone. They were
Yeah.
picked up. They were distributed and picked up. So then we would have a second printing. But because of the cost, we have limited it to 300 in the last couple of years.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's a couple
I printed
dollars a
500
copy.
last year.
Yeah.
And it was about $1,250, I think, for 500 copies.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and how many pages?
12.
12 pages.
And that's
Yeah.
full color, right?
Yeah.
What are
So
we printing
Tom,
on? Is it on
yeah,
slick stock or?
Yes, card stock.
it's on glossy stock. It looks like
Okay.
this. I don't know if you guys can see it, but Tom, if you were going to take your editorial pen to it and still being limited to 12 pages, what would you do? Would you basically condense a lot of the language, condense some of the wording?
I don't know. I haven't thought about it enough, Hector. I like the typeface,
I mean,
except for that chart.
I would
We
offer
get
a
rid of that crazy
suggestion.
chart.
There can be charts eliminated for sure. So, and it can be switched around, we can have different style charts, whatever.
Yeah.
That's not a problem.
I mean, I might offer to say that maybe we do more of an executive summary on the beginning or a separate page for an executive summary and remove like some of the town government if you want to scroll back up to the beginning, some of that information is really for what we do is really superfluous, but that's an area that we could look at using
The
that
government
space
structure
more.
page.
Yeah, for more of an executive summary by the chair. Something along just to do that
Yeah.
and
In place of the government structure, Jim?
That's what I'm suggesting. It does, I'm just offering up an idea, that's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No harm, no
I'll,
foul.
I'll tell you, I kind of like the government structure thing. It's grounding. And,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of people have no idea
Hmm.
how the town runs. So,
My thoughts from looking at it last year and working on it for the first time was I really like this product. I think
Mhm.
everything that's in it's great, but I wonder if there's a way to pull out parts of it that we find to be maybe in the biggest interest of the community and pushing it out in another format. So, like when we had DPW in, and I asked the question about what is most expensive for recycling, I've told every person that lives in this town that the town makes money off of metals. And I think that tidbit alone is really important because there's people that don't recycle. And it's like, hey, the town benefits if you separate your metals from all your trash. So I
Mhm.
wonder if there's a way that we can take some of these parts, leave the report as is, print it as we do, but present it in another format that perhaps when it comes to engagement, I think that's the question for me is how do we know people are engaging with it? And if we're able to push that out, if there's, charts that we can put out onto social media, I don't know if we have, an Instagram or a Facebook, but some sort of social media that we can engage the public in a different digital format. And it's not the whole report, but maybe we take, what's the most salient issue from each section that we want really to get out there. And we won't get everything because it can't capture everything, but I wonder just if there's other methods that we could use beyond the printing.
Yeah, so the town does have social media, CFAC doesn't on its own. But the town has put out some of our things before on Facebook and Twitter and, anything else that they have. So I think, you're thinking more like you have the report and then you put out like a snapshot of one of the sections, just a quick kind of thing. Maybe
Exactly.
maybe with a link to the report to get people to try to read it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if we had a series of either videos or, the infographics that we really think are compelling and maybe less confusing, that could help for those that don't have the time to go pick one up or have the, focus to flip through all the pages. At least they're getting a bit of a snapshot as to the financial state of affairs for Barnstable.
And then maybe even add to that where, you go and present this on the town page, I'm not page, but the town station, right? Where you go and give a 5-minute presentation, Chris, you give a 5-minute presentation with Mark and talk about our, the annual report. There's all
Yeah.
kinds of ways that
Yeah.
you can get out into the public. And I think that's one really strong vehicle along with social media. It could be a big factor for us.
Would it be helpful to the group if we were to invite the director of communications or someone from the communications department to at least talk to you as a body to highlight what options might be out there in order to get this report or a version of this report communicated to the public?
Yeah, yeah, I think that would be great if we can schedule that,
Or
either for the next meeting or
That's a great idea
why
because
don't we just go
last
meet with Lynn? I'd like Jeremy, why don't you go meet with Lynn and come up with, just talk with her about different ideas that you might have and see where it goes. Or,
I
and
think
bring back-
yeah,
okay.
I think that's a great idea. What Lynn did last year was she had a on the front page of the Barnstable Town page, she had a link for our report.
Right.
She had a
yeah,
link
and
to
it
this
was in the
report.
e-news and all of that kind of
Okay.
stuff that goes out. So there's been some exposure, but we certainly can do more. I'm sure we could do a presentation on the, public
Town channel, yeah.
TV. Um,
One, that's Gareth, that's a good idea. Kelly Colopy, who's the communications person for CWMP, she's very plugged into social media. Maybe we could pick her brains too, or in addition to Lynn.
But she doesn't have control of the town website. That would go through Lynn.
That's right, but Kelly would have some ideas about social media. She could take a look at this report and say, well, here, you did this and this
Oh, I
and
see.
this.
Yeah. Yeah. Gotcha. Understood. Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, I
if we
think
we bring in anyone that has some expertise in engaging the public, that would be super helpful for us. So I'm open to really hearing from anyone in the town that's because really we want to see what's worked. And I think getting 300 copies out has worked to a degree. But if there's any, they're like, hey, we get 1,000 people engaged in a post. I think that would really be something that we want to look at.
yeah, it's good to have any kind of metrics that we can. I just know that when we've tried in the past, it hasn't led to anything really, but we can keep trying different avenues for sure.
And I certainly, there's the DECA program at the high school, and there was certainly a student from Barnstable High that was interning with with finance. So, I mean, if we're thinking engaging social media, teenagers might be a good group to turn to, and the business classes at the school are pretty terrific. So I could reach out to those teachers and see if that would be something they'd maybe want to collaborate on to
Yeah,
have
that would be
those.
great. Yeah.
Cool. So I'll
We
I'll let
we
me
I'll
do
get
know.
on
have
that.
a intern starting next week, I imagine, back from the high school and in the finance department.
Yeah, because I know that that might be something that their skill set would be really good to tap into. Of hey, here's some maybe boring stuff in your mind, but how would you turn this into something a bit more interesting?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
Jeremy,
absolutely. And
yeah,
the school budget's a big part of it. So even looking at it from that perspective, yeah.
Jeremy, I'm thinking it's a great idea, and I'm thinking that as you said, it's boring, but you challenge the students to say we're doing a push campaign of this 300 um, the, you know, 300 units that we're shipping out to get people to read it, and we don't really know if they are. And what we're really looking for is a pull campaign where people will come in and say, I want to see this, and pull it off of the website. How do you get the interest is really the challenge that I don't know. I don't know how you get the town's interest, and it seems like we're all kind of struggling to figure that out.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's good. Good
I think
challenge for the students.
I think Hector's idea about Colopy is a great one. I'd be happy to follow up on that. I've worked with her in the past, and maybe Jeremy, if you could contact Lynn Boyan. I know that she's well aware that we've been wanting to do this. I've spoken to her last year when we did the town, our CFAC seal. I worked with her on that, so she's well aware that we're anxious to plug in somehow.
Right. And then for the last couple of years, one or another of us has raised the idea of having it be distributed by email to the
Oh,
towns,
right.
to the people who receive the Barnstable e-news. And for a variety of reasons, that hasn't gone anywhere. But, I still think, this would be something, if I got this in an email from the town, I'd say, oh, I might want to take a look at it. And that might be a way of broadening the distribution. But we'd have to get permission from whoever controls that e-news mailing list.
Yeah,
But I
if I
think I agree
remember
with you.
right, they didn't want to have an attachment with the e-news, but they did put the link to the report in one of the e-news emails.
Right.
I think they just didn't want to have any attachments associated with it.
But why? I mean, what's the barrier to having an attachment?
I don't
It's
know,
kind of a one-off.
yeah, no, I know, but I mean, people will be reluctant potentially to click on an attachment anyway. But I don't remember what the hang up was, but I think that
Right. I
was
think
one
we
of
ought
the
to
issues.
pursue that again. That's my perspective.
I really agree. If the e-news goes out and it goes out as an email, I get it. I'm sure you all do.
Yeah.
And, it's graphically there. Why not simply have a separate mailing that has this entire report? Not even as an attachment, but as one that's actually embedded.
Hmm. Yeah, so again, we need to talk to the communications department for
Yeah.
sure. whoever the relevant people are for that, if we can get them to a future meeting to talk about that, that would be great.
Gareth, do you know what the distribution is of the weekly town e-news?
No, not off the top of my head.
I bet it's in the thousands, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So it's a key audience to tap, and I like Tom's suggestion that maybe we just make this as a separate email and have it be contained in the body of the email as opposed to an attachment. If Chris, you don't think people would click on an attachment, if I got a distribution from the town which had an attachment, I would open it, and I'm quite careful of opening attachments from email addresses that I don't know or I didn't request something from. So I think we can overcome that obstacle.
Yeah, well, I believe that was the hang up. I'd have to go back and listen to the meetings because I know we discussed it. But anyway, certainly something we can look at. Gareth, I don't know if you or Mark or whoever can schedule, communications for our next meeting or the meeting after that. Or
Well,
Yeah,
what
I will
is the
certainly
timing
extend
for
the
getting this
invitation if you'd
done?
like.
Sorry, Gareth, go ahead.
I can certainly put out the invitation.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, timeline for getting this done. I mean, usually we have it done by like October, I think, or
Well,
is there a real
we
deadline?
last year was late. We normally get it out in September, but since this is September, we'll get it out in October.
Yeah, probably the beginning of October, I would think.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
So
Chris,
maybe between now and the next meeting, each of us signs up for a section. And then we get some distribution experts here at the next meeting in 2 weeks. And that way we continue to make progress on the text of the report, and we can talk strategies for getting wider audience at the next meeting.
Yeah, that would be good. I mean, I'd
But
like
in
to
turn,
assign sections tonight if people want to
Yes,
volunteer for any of these.
I think that would be the right thing to do, Chris.
Yeah.
is there any chance that we might consider something slightly different? I mean, as the newbie here, I've gone through a lot of financial information on the town, and I've always been frustrated that the operating budget is 538 pages. No one in the town, maybe other than myself, reads it.
You're preaching to
And-
the choir there.
And this is a maybe too comprehensive of a document, the 12 pages. That if someone takes this, and I would almost challenge someone to say, tell me the big picture when looking at those 12 pages versus saying in an intro that says, in 2025 or 2026, whichever year we're talking about, the town of Barnstable spends $315 million on an operating budgets and an additional $250 million on capital projects. And then drill down on that to say the three major components of the operating budget are A, municipal services or general fund for 225 million. B, the 9 primarily self-funding enterprise funds spend 50 million and a few blurbs. The 5 independent fire departments spend another 40 million, and in a little chart that says that's the 315. And then the primary components of the 250 million for long-term capital projects are CWMP 170, enterprise funds for 50, and schools for 30, for whatever the numbers are. So the big picture comes across to the person of, we spend $315 million on annual stuff, if you will, and we spend another 250, and then drill down on that as compared to paragraph after paragraph. If you try to add up those numbers, they don't all come together and no one could recite them. That's just my thought.
A good thought, Frank, and what you're really saying, in my mind, is you're taking the graph that Tom doesn't like and putting that into words.
Or in a few bullet points. It's
Yeah,
basically
or-
a few words, 4 bullets, and then the person says, well, I can now see the big picture of $315 million in 4 bullets. And I
Right,
know what enterprise funds are. I know what the 5 fire departments are. I know they're independent.
Right. Rather than having that chart, which, as Tom is saying, is difficult to really digest, which it is, but it says everything that you just said if you can digest that chart. but put it into bullet points, which is more digestible for all.
And put words in that the average taxpayer will understand. That everyone hates the topic fixed cost. There's really no such thing as a fixed cost, but we use it everywhere. They could all go away if we chose to as taxpayers, but we label fixed, we have intergovernmental. Come up with some words that the public might actually understand, because they will never ask questions because they don't understand the content. That's
Yeah. So bridge the language back
yes.
to, yep.
And that's kind of the strong point of an executive summary, is that that provides all that information up front, and hence my earlier suggestion. It's just a suggestion, but sometimes executive summaries have a very powerful communication tool that can unlock all the content that's going to flow from it. So
The
And can
average
I
person
say,
today only reads one page.
Right.
I want to just say, it's Betty Lidke. What Frank is saying is outstanding. And I love that he's talked about the fire districts, because that's such a weirdism that people can't get their heads around the town of Barnstable, yet there's these different, even though you have no control over them, I think to encompass them in this, it really helps people get an understanding of how things work. I think that's a great idea to bring some of these things in, and the enterprise accounts. And you're right, Frank, people cannot get their head around these terms. And I'm not going to ask a question if I'm going to sound stupid. So, of course, they're not going to ask anything. But if you put it in those terms and kind of explain some of the oddities, people, enterprise account, I don't know what that is. I really like what you're saying.
Or like in the enterprise funds, they have the PEG enterprise fund. Nobody knows what that is. And I think it's just cable TV.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I mean, your point is well taken. Some of these things should be, I guess, better explained. There is a page on the fire districts, so that is in the report.
It
But
always has been,
the
right?
flow of the town budget, yeah, definitely should be explained better. So I don't know, maybe that goes back to changing that government structure page into more of an executive summary. Or are you advocating just for a shorter document, Frank?
It may not be shorter. It would just be, it would start off with the big picture, and then you might have one on the fire districts. But if using that as an example, their tax rate only generates questions. It doesn't answer anything.
Yeah, the fire districts are definitely a confusing thing for everyone, really. And it is peculiar to Barnstable. There's only a handful of towns that are like that across the state. But I think to your point, and it was brought up earlier, changing the government structure page, do you think that that will address your concern to lay these things out on that first page and then dive deeper into them on the subsequent pages?
I view that org chart as something that's already available on the town website, and the focus of this group is numbers. So I wouldn't even put an org chart. I would talk to the numbers, the big picture, one page on revenue, one page on expenditures, and I would take the fixed costs and redistribute them, because it's all employee benefits and pension. Put them in the departments. It's a management report. It doesn't have to comply with generally accepted government standards.
Yeah, I think we want to be consistent though with how the town breaks it down. We don't want to be breaking down the fixed costs differently than how the town accounts for them, because that causes more confusion in my mind.
I disagree with that, because the townspeople have no idea. I have neighbors that in general discussion will say, what's all those fixed costs? And then when you realize that if you broke that out to the departments, you'd get away from someone saying, well, a police officer costs $65,000. It really costs 1/3 more because of the employee benefits, and another 25% more because of the pension costs. If you put those costs where they actually belong, if you will, from a management perspective, then you'd understand, or the taxpayers would understand what they're actually paying for.
Yeah, no, I get your point. I mean, how does everyone else feel about that?
I
If I could
guess
just note
I guess what I'd
that,
like to see is if someone wants to take it on, put out a draft and let's see how we react to it. As opposed to splitting up the project into many different hands, all of which have a different way of looking at it.
Yeah, Gareth, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, just as a side note, we do each year as part of the budget documents put out a operating budget summary that does fully allocate out the fixed cost categories to each department. It's about a 52-page document that comes out about the same time as the main operating budget. So it's an analysis that we are doing annually. It's just not how we present it in our major budget document or the appropriation orders, but it's an exercise that is completed.
So
I
where
think
would I find that document, Gareth? Under
It's on
finance?
finance webpage.
Yeah,
It's labeled the budget information FY26 operating budget summary.
yep, okay, I got that.
And it's so many pages though, Gareth, because it goes into gross detail. It's goes way down into the weeds of, each department and how much is allocated to each department on a sometimes I thought I saw it all the way down to an individual teacher basis, if you want to say that.
the school should be in the big picture. What everybody wants to know is how many students do we have? How many teachers do we have? How many administrators do we have? And what do they cost? What else is there? If for instance, the town's population in schools is going down, but the spending is going up. And does anybody address why?
We did that in our last report, yes.
Yeah, we did.
And the
Yes.
answer was,
The answer is because the population has become significantly more difficult because you have greater number of special ed, greater number of ESL, a
ASL.
greater number of challenged students.
perfect. That's, in my opinion, on the schools page, it would be one page that shows the head counts, the number of teachers, the number of administrators, and the explanation for the increased cost with the lowering population is just what you said. And then everyone in town understands, because the majority of them are saying school population is going down. Why is it costing more? And there should be an easy answer on one page, I think, in this summary.
Well, so for example, on the school page, Frank, page 6 of last year's report, would you think a summary like Thomas just expressed, introduce the page and then have the gist of what's there now?
The gist, I would keep it with the total number of students by year and not break it down by classroom. To say that for the last 10 years, this population goes, I think, from 5,400 down to 4,800, and the spending on another line, and then say the number of teachers, number of administrators. So it's obvious that it's due to having to put more people in the classroom. I'm hoping it's more people in the classroom helping these students versus 17 more assistant XYZs.
Yeah, so I think that's a pretty minor change to what's there, as far as that chart, changing it from breaking it down by grade level to just a year, however many years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever period you want to look at, how the enrollment has changed. The content of that page, I think, is pretty much on point with what you're talking about. It just doesn't have staff levels. That's the only thing missing there.
In the chapter 70, isn't it
Yeah.
just state funding? Just say state funding so that people would understand it, or put it next to it. And foundation per pupil, is that what Barnstable pays? You see the terminology so that it's in English that every taxpayer would understand. They're not going to ask a question about, could you tell me about chapter 70? And we should tell them that it's state aid. It's coming from the state.
Well, it does say that. It
It does
says
say
state
that.
chapter 70 aid. So it does say state aid.
I'm sorry, I'm
does.
looking at that at
paragraph.
the bottom of the page on the left of the chart where it says total dollars per pupil, then chapter 70 $/pupil and foundation.
Right.
But
But
at the
at the top of the page
at
in
the
the first
very top,
paragraph,
it says, at the very top, it says State Chapter 70 aid. It's a financial overview. It's the third line down. in,
I agree. I see the
like-
word.
I'd like to make a comment. Frank, it's so great to have you because this is a new set of eyes and a new way to look at it. And we really appreciate it. And you give us food for thought here. And I think what we need to do in order to move toward our October deadline is to have our members take on various subjects here in these 12 pages, and then we'll come up with a draft, and then we can edit them accordingly. Tom did an excellent job on the public education operating budget, and he can very easily summarize all of this and point out all of the important points that he was making. So if that's okay, can we move on to who's going to do what?
Yeah, I think we should, decide who's going to do which section, assuming we want to keep all the same sections in here. And certainly they can be reworked to Frank's point to make it more clear for the reader, and more concise. And certainly charts eliminated, changed, whatever anyone wants to do, and we can coalesce it together and edit it from there.
Since I volunteered to talk to Colopy at DPW, I can take I'll take the CWMP. I can do both of those.
Great.
Well, you could do that. I was going to volunteer to do that because I had
You can
just
have it then.
no, the reason is I had just done an update and presentation for our civic club. So I've got all the stuff. But if you'd
Okay.
like to do it, I'd be happy to. And I got all the information from Kelly already. So
Okay.
yeah. So if it's okay with everybody, I'll just do that. I'm not sure whether we need the QR codes on all of this stuff, but we can discuss that later.
Yeah, again, changes like that we can make during
Yeah.
the editing. But yeah, so Lillian is going to do CWMP. Is that
Right,
what's
right.
happening? Yeah, Jim?
Yes.
I'll do enterprise. I'll do enterprise then.
Okay.
Jim, I was going to step in for that only only because I just did it for
Flip a coin.
yeah. It'd be easy for me just to take what I did and then summarize that down for the enterprise.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm
What's
happy
your third
to.
choice, Jim?
Oh, that's awesome. Let's see. How about, do we have anything on taxes or?
We have property taxes.
Let me do that one. Is that okay?
Right. It's
I don't want to
yours.
step on anybody's toes now.
Take it.
Well, nobody's stepping forward.
Hector,
Yeah. So
any
I'm
section you want?
happy. I'm happy to take the back page, looking ahead in those other sections. And if there's another section that if somebody doesn't want to do fire districts, I would take that on as well.
Okay. Well, you can have that too if you want it.
So why don't we see what other people want to do? So why don't I commit to do the back page? And if somebody else wants to do fire districts, please raise your hand.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute.
Tom, do you want to do education again?
Sure.
Okay. Jeremy, any preference on
I
anything
can do
that's
capital.
CIP? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So that leaves the fire districts, general fund, and government structure. Frank, are there any of those more appealing to you?
I think I've offered way too much already for change, and maybe I should not try to change too many things. I would gladly say, let me offer you an overview as I would view this thing, without interrupting the flow of this year's. This year it might be too late to try to change anything if you've got to get it out in a month. But I'll write something.
So Frank, you're suggesting you would do something that would go towards the front of the document, maybe on page 2, where the government structure pages, and we might cut that way back and Are you talking about writing sort of a summary? Is that your idea?
Well, to give you an idea of how I would tell the big picture on page one, and then it would drill down page after page to say, here's how we break down revenue, here's how we break down costs, or the enterprise funds as an example. Is anyone doing enterprise funds?
Yeah, I
Yes,
was.
Yes,
Chris
Chris
King is
King
doing that.
is.
Yep.
But I also, Frank, is I think the areas general fund revenue and expenditures. I mean, I think that's an area that, with the graph that Tom doesn't like, I think that's the area to really look at. I don't mean to say that over and over, Tom. I don't mean to say it that
I'm
way,
not
but
taking it deeply personally.
okay, good, good. You're
And it's
just taking it,
also
but
it's also long. It's two full pages,
but I
and
think
maybe that can be condensed.
that's the area to do some summarization, and I'd be happy to give it a shot. It's going to be rough, but I'd be happy to give the general fund revenue and expenditures and try to summarize the funny chart in a way that is more digestible.
So you
Thank
want to
you.
do that instead of enterprise funds or in addition to?
I'll do both. The enterprise funds should be
Oh,
pretty straightforward.
no,
Okay.
Chris King knows every enterprise fund inside and out.
Uh-huh.
We
Well, there you
worked that
go.
we worked that one hard.
Yeah,
Can
yeah.
can we include head counts on some of these?
Head counts on what?
Numbers
Well,
of employees
like,
for the enterprise
On the
funds.
yeah,
departments?
a trend in more trends, like the airport trends, what it spends every year and how many heads it has, or the golf enterprise, how many heads it has and what it spends every year, or HYCC. Those are the questions that
Okay, general
I hear
fund,
people ask.
Don't we do that in the
enterprise.
operating budgets? Isn't that done in the operating budgets when we review the?
Yeah, I think good question, Frank, is I'll look at the enterprise fund and see if, because all that information is available. It's just not, when it was boiled down for this presentation, it was a really simplification of what the enterprise funds are all about. But I'll look at that from the charts that have been presented, and is there a different way to present the information that opens it up a little bit more?
But a lot of that's already controlled by, they're self-funded. So a lot of those, with the
Right.
few exceptions, their revenues are all captured and they manage their own headcount. So there's very little influence.
That's right.
That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to influence.
But people are wondering what the airport
Still
spends
think-
$12 million on.
Not sure they are, but
Well, I think the thing to remember with this report, though, is it's just a broad overview. We don't want to get into the weeds on each individual department, because
Exactly.
it's just a summary um, of the top line number, really. There can be some details added, I think. I think, Chris, if you want to work on incorporating some more details on some of those things, but
Yeah, I mean, Frank, like the airport generates more revenue than they spend, and they are a positive enterprise fund, and that language, what you're saying is true, is that it looks like the airport spends money, but why? Where does it go, and how is it spent, and does it come out of my taxes? And that all needs to be explained in an appropriate way. And for example, the airport does not. The airport is not a drag on our taxes. They generate funds that are then stored for future use for their own capital expenditures.
I agree, but the public doesn't know that.
That's correct, and that's what you're saying, and I get it, and I'll take a look at it. I don't know how I'll change this report to be able to encompass all of those questions, but I think it's fair to give it a shot and
yeah.
try it out.
Yeah,
And
I think you can add some language in there to make that more clear. Last year's report does specify, 3 operations are subsidized by the
Right.
general,
Yep.
which would imply the other ones are not subsidized at all. But little bit clearer language in there might be helpful for the reader.
Yeah.
Yeah, yep, I
So
fully
yeah, I
understand.
think that's fine. Yeah, I just don't want to end up with, you know, a 20-page document instead of a 12-page document. You know.
No, I get it. And you know, it's all wordsmithing and trying to put the right language in place so that the right impression comes across to the consumer, to the
And one suggestion I have, which is sort of piling on to Tom's point about his favorite chart on page 3, is in each of your sections, as you look at them, think long and hard about how to illustrate them graphically and whether the current graphs and charts we have really really do a service to, you know, to the average reader that Frank is trying to reach. So that's certainly, and I think Frank, your question about, or your comment about head count in the various areas, I think that's something that's something that would be helpful to have.
I'm not
But I
suggesting
would
adding a lot of pages. I think enterprise
no,
could still be summarized on one page, and it could
Yes.
list 5 years of spending, 5 years of headcount, and then the public would understand what it is, and we could change the name of PEG or put something, if it's cable TV, tell people what it is, because I don't think 3 people in the town know what PEG is.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, definitely.
It took me 3 months to figure that out.
So that's fine. I think we all understand what to do with that.
Yeah. So
Make it
I got
changes.
my
Yeah.
parts, and I'll go off and give that a shot over
So
the next couple weeks.
the only things left, government structure, I'll rework that. Hector, do you want to do the fire districts or I'll do them? It doesn't matter to me.
Sure, I'll do fire districts too.
Okay. All right.
I'm probably not going to change a lot, but I'm certainly going to look at the charts. And Gareth, would I be able to get head count information somewhere? That would you be able to steer me if I were looking for head count for each of the fire districts? Think about that, and we can be in
Probably
touch.
from each
Probably on
individual
their
district.
websites.
Yeah.
It's nothing
Yeah.
I have.
Yeah.
Hector, I've got a suggestion on your looking ahead section.
Mhm.
If you look at our operating budget and the CIP, both of them had looking ahead. You might
Yeah.
want to extract some of that from there.
Okay. Will do.
All
Okay.
right. So everyone
Just a
should,
thought. Yeah.
yep. So everyone can have a draft of their section by the next meeting. Tom, you've been compiling these things, right? You want to compile all the drafts into one document or
Not really, but all right.
no? Okay. Well, I'm assigning it to you, so thank you.
So each of us writes a section in Word and sends it to Tom. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, if you
Right.
want to send it to me and Tom, that would be
Okay.
great.
That's great.
Okay.
But do not send it to everybody.
Not
Okay.
everyone, yes. Yep. That's correct.
Okay.
And when's our next meeting, Chris?
It would be 2 weeks from tonight, so that is
Okay, we got an assignment for 2
September.
weeks.
September
Yeah,
8th.
Okay.
I don't have the date in front of me to be honest with you.
No,
September
that's
8th.
fine.
September
September
8th.
8th. Yep.
Just trying to get in my head how much time I got.
Yes.
So Chris, I took on no assignments, and I threw a lot of flack into the group. Sorry about that. But if I were to draft some of the ideas that I had and send them to the individuals that are doing their component, would that be acceptable as a potential way to look at some of these things?
I'd like to have follow up on Tom's suggestion is have you take a crack at what's in your, you've got, others have a view of what you'd like to see the report look like.
Perfect.
You should put your efforts into that and we'll talk about that next meeting, you know.
Excellent. Is
Yeah.
there a way, I don't have everyone's email or so that I
Well,
can
Well,
share.
if you send it to me, Frank, I'll distribute it to the rest of the committee so they can look at it prior to our next meeting.
Perfect.
We can go from there.
But
All right.
Frank, if you look at Mark Milner's emails where he distributes the agenda and so forth, it has everyone's email in those emails.
Yes. Yep, that's true as
Will
well.
do. I'll take it. I'll get it from there. Thank you.
All right, so everyone has their assignments. I think
Okay,
we're
I
good.
see. Mr. Chair, I see we have another counselor on the call, Paul Neary. I don't know, Paul, if you have any comments or questions, if you're there.
Thank you, Hector. I'm just observing your group grinding away as always with their with individual assignments, and I'll look forward to seeing you kind of in a written form. And please, if you could, and I'd ask you this, Chris, I had a tough time getting that report prior to the town council meeting. So if you could include me on that would be
Yeah, the
fantastic.
Wilkins report you weren't able to
Yes.
get?
Yep, that'd be great.
Okay. Yeah, because I
Oh,
should have emailed it to you. Whatever email was on the
Yeah,
on the
and
website.
the CFAC report, for the budget and the
wow.
reports you guys put up. So
Okay.
I may have had a broken link. I had an old email, and then as you folks may or may not know, they had us all get our own town emails a whole bit. So I
Okay.
may,
Yeah, it should have gone to whatever town email was listed on
you
the
got
town
it.
website. So
You got it. You got it. I
let me
appreciate that.
make sure. Appreciate it, Paul. Thank you.
Outstanding. All right. And thank you. Thank you all. Great job.
Thanks. All right, so we're all set on that. Correspondence from the committee. Jim, did you want to discuss briefly?
I'll just keep it. We covered most everything, but there was two things that I want to just run by you. One was um, more visual graphics that we've already talked about, but just trying to think of some way. I think um, Jeremy had mentioned infographics, but things are becoming much more visual today. And I'm not saying that it has to be done for this report, but for future reports, I think trying to find that right format, that right communication medium, and graphics, of course, and videos are very powerful tools today. So I would like to spend more effort. I mean, I'm happy to put some time in that and make some recommendations. And the other was maybe for us to consider where we do a quarterly report of some kind. It can be a compilation of meeting notes, etc., but something that can be distributed by the town, quarterly comments on work that CFAC's on or performing, just general comments, just to almost in a newsletter type format. So those are two things. With your permission, I'd like to just do some background homework on and see if it makes sense. It may not, but those are ideas that I just were kind of picking up on Jeremy's enthusiasm from last meeting and trying to run with it a little bit. So.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. If you want to take that on, I'd
Yeah.
be happy to see what you come up with. I think any exposure for the committee is good. I mean, again, that report we just did, I think, had a big effect. So any more exposure for the committee, I think, is a positive thing.
Okay.
So Jim, when you do this work, you might look around at other towns on the Cape or in the state, maybe some of the bigger towns, and see what they do with respect to financial data on the town and how they convey it, whether through social media or whatever. So for example, what does Cambridge, Massachusetts do? Or Boston or Plymouth? I think it'd be interesting to see if other towns have come up with unusual or more effective ways of distributing financial information.
Well said. Thank you.
Anything else from anyone else? Okay. Move on to communications from staff. Gareth, anything we need to know?
We're putting together if you believe it, the FY27 budget action calendar. I don't know if Mark has mentioned it at past meetings. Typically, we'll have the town manager distribute those instructions to departments at around mid-September. Our initial draft plan for FY27, similar to previous years, I think we're looking to accelerate the CIP process slightly, try and tackle that a little bit earlier than we have in previous years. with the hopes that if we can get it to the town council earlier and get the votes, then departments like the schools might be able to act more swiftly on their capital program over the summer. That being one of the driving issues we're looking at. Additionally, kind of reflecting at the last year's budget cycle, there wasn't a very large gap between the capital and then the operating budget. And I think to a certain extent, we saw some backlog of agenda items at the town council level. So if we can tackle the CIP a little bit earlier, it might give them the opportunity to get more business done before jumping into the operating budget. So just some things we're playing around with. It impacts this group in that we always have task force members to review the CIPs, and you also produce the CIP report. So I'll likely will send a draft out to this group to have a review and get some feedback on how it might impact the timeline might impact this group. So I'll send that to you, Chris.
Yes.
And you can distribute that to the group.
Appreciate it very much. Okay. Councilors Lucky or Neary, anything else?
No, nothing else from me, Chris. Nope. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
I would just make a quick comment that elections are coming up. Please, if you have anybody in your precinct that you think would be a great fit for the town council, have them get out there, pull some papers, okay? Because it's time's coming up on us soon. And Tom, I believe you may be one of them. I'm not sure, but thank you so much.
That would be correct.
What is the deadline, Paul, for submitting papers with a petition, with the signatures?
That is correct. That is correct. That's September 15th, I believe. You got to get your signatures in. But again,
I think it's the 12th.
Is it the 12th? Yeah, we need, I think multiple options, if we can entice people to get involved, I think it's a wonderful thing. It's important for the town. And over the last couple cycles, this may or may not be my last swing at it. And it seems as though we've had a little bit of a drop off in terms of interest, let's put it that way, in getting involved. And I think it is important to if we come across folks in that, our neighbors, our friends, whatever, that have a penchant for it, it can be worthwhile. And I think it's healthy for the town, to have some different views out there. So that's my spiel.
Yes, well said.
Appreciate you guys taking.
Are you recruiting for precinct 6, Paul?
I may have 3 challengers in my precinct, so it will be wonderful. It will be wonderful.
I guess that you're busy then.
You got it.
All right, appreciate it.
It's all good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right, if nothing else, then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Jeremy, roll call.
Hector Gunther,
Yes.
Tom Keene,
Yes.
Chris King,
Yes.
Chris Lozon,
Yes.
Jim Sproul,
Yes.
Frank Ward,
Yes.
Lillian Wu,
Yes.
and I am a yes.
Excellent. Thank you guys very much.